Hi, we are Utah Saints and welcome to
Music Leads Us, an awesome exhibition here in the middle of Leeds at the museum, and it's celebrating the people and the places and the magic moments that have shaped Leeds' musical identity across 6 unforgettable decades. Come and have a look. So firstly, we've got this board which starts off in the 60s, and it pretty much covers a bit of everything. It covers an amazing musical legacy that has informed all the music that's come out of this great city.
Straight away though, we have zoomed in to 1991, which is Utah Saints, and our very first record, which is What Can You Do For Me, and then it says known for something good. Yeah, 1991, right the way through till 2024. So it shows a lot of diverse music and styles and genres.
This is the bar from the legendary Duchess of York. The Duchess of York, for those of you who don't know it, was in the middle of Leeds. There's a blue plaque up now. It's on Briggate. And basically, many, many years ago, we would have been stood at this bar watching loads and loads of bands. And Duchess of York had a gig on every night of the week. And half the time, you didn't even look at the lineup. You just went down to see bands. And like, they've got an amazing history. Nirvana played there, Oasis played there, and a billion other bands. In Leeds, maybe you didn't know this, and I'm not going to give away all the secrets of the exhibition, but there's a strong connection between jukeboxes and Leeds. Jukebox is kind of an alien thing maybe now, but such an important part of musical history.
There's a little picture of us as well here, which is taken, do you remember where that's taken, Jess?
Yep, that would have been taken probably at Leeds Warehouse on a tour we did with the legendary soul singer Edwin Starr back in around about 2000, so around about 26 years ago.
As you can see, there's lots of cabinets, so we're not going to talk about everything today because otherwise you won't need to come down, and you need to come down and check this out. This glass cabinet here has got a lot of memories from Vague and Speed Queen, which were legendary nights, really, weren't they, in Leeds? And they were at the Warehouse, and yeah, and it later went on to be. Actually, it started with the Kit Kat Club we used to play in called the Gallery, and it kind of. Yeah, it was the back room of the Gallery when we were doing a full-on rave. They had the Kit Kat Club, and then from the Kit Kat Club, it went into, obviously, Vague and Speed Queen. And Jojo, who was on Kiss, she used to be the lady on the door. And
she used to be scary on the door. If you were wearing the wrong shoes, she'd come and tell you off.
You'd have to get past Jojo on the door to get in.
But also should mention Susie Mason, Paul Fryer, Moose, Paul Dillon, and Nick Raphael. They all brought amazing ideas into a big melting pot. You go down that club, you never knew what you were going to expect. Sometimes I went down and everyone was in Victorian gear. So if you just went in kind of jeans and trainers, you just looked completely out of place because everyone was in Victorian gear with big wigs and everything. Fantastic. And the music was always really, really on point. Yep. You'd hear stuff there you wouldn't hear anywhere else.
So moving over to this cabinet that we have the honour of sharing with Back to Basics. So we'll talk about Back to Basics first. Founded by the legendary Dave Beer. I think everybody in Leeds knows Dave Beer. It was way ahead of its time, this club. You know, different kind of music to what it was at Vague and Speed Queen, but you know, Dave brought in sort of some amazing DJs, people like Andi Weatherall. You know, and he had some really good residents like Ralph Lawson, Huggy, and it's just a seminal part of Leeds, and it's still going, which is amazing. The
connection with Dave Beer was about him being our tour manager when Utah Saints first started. Dave was our tour manager, and you can imagine it was quite a characterful tour that we used to have when Dave was organising everything for us. But it was fantastic, and as Tim says, Back to Basics became just an international brand and still is.
You can see there's a thing called Sugar Beet Club where we had kind of a little bit of a downtime in between doing Utah's music, where me and Jess went back into clubs and just played music really that we just liked to play, and we did this in a place called the Elbow Room in Leeds.
Every Saturday for 10 years.
Every Saturday. So when we started off doing gigs, we thought, well, we need to get some people to cover us. So then by default we started getting guest DJs in. So as you can see on there, over the years we had some amazing DJs. Like we put Soul Wax on, we put Zane Lowe, we put A-Track, we put Sammy Joe from the Scissor Sisters. You know, just lots of people. Like we had Manny from the Stone Roses. Everybody, and there was no real kind of music policy, was there?
No, there wasn't. We tried to put all the turntablists on as well. So all the really skillful like DMC champions would come to Sugar Beat. So we had DJ Kentaro, from Japan would come in. Cash Money's on there. We did a lot of drum and bass as well. So it was real kind of mishmash. We did it. We promoted and organised every Saturday there for 10 years, which was a brilliant privilege to be able to be involved in that.
So that's there, and then sat next to that, that's Jez's guitar that he used.
So that bass guitar has had some. It was a custom built one. It's had some use. It's been on stage with U2. It's been on Top of the Pops. It used to have a MIDI pickup on it for a bit for anybody who's kind of train spottery about tech. So I'd have a MIDI pickup on it so I could play samples from it. I'm not a brilliant bass player, but obviously Utah Saints, we have a lot of bass going on, so I could kind of make a proper wobble.
Then down here, just there's a little check that's in a plaque, and that was our payment for going on tour 5 Friday back in in the year 2000.
This record, by the way, Something Good 1992, like our first album and our first 5 top 10s, I think, all recorded here in Leeds, all mixed in a small studio called Lion Studios, which was owned by the legendary Brendan Croker, who will also be in this exhibition. And we made everything in Leeds. Just the fact that we recorded them in Leeds gave them a special sound, and that's why coming back to Millennium Square with the Orchestra of Opera North, cannot wait. And that's like a full circle for us. So it's proper all Leeds, Leeds, Leeds.
As you can see, there's a picture there, and that is taken from a previous Millennium Square shot, and that was, I think, that was the first time I think we played it, which was probably it was before COVID, probably about 6 or 7 years ago. But it's been on a few times. Anybody who's been to see it will know it's a special event. The thing for me that makes this unique is that it's the power of the orchestra, and there are 50 people from Opera North on the stage, and raises the hairs on the back of your neck, so I strongly recommend that you come down to it.
So this is the green room. It's a very chilled out part of the museum up here, and it's a bit like someone's living room. There's some great things, some books to read. Incidentally, popular music in Leeds. We're very privileged to be able to do the introduction for that. And also on there, Utah Saints connection again. That is the platinum disc from the original Mortal Kombat film.
Out of our studio as well, that is, and just the only one of those. So we actually recorded this in Leeds, didn't we?
Yeah. So the theme for Mortal Kombat film, which came out in the early 90s, was recorded here in Leeds.
So at the time, though, because when this came through, to just say that we got asked about doing it, and we were kind of completely on the fence. We were like, no, we don't want to do it. It's a video game, and we weren't sure, were we? And then we finally kind of got around. We thought, yeah, we'll give it a go, because we were working with the riff that is from the video game, and we didn't know if we could make it work into a track. So it was a good experience, because for one thing we learned from that is that you should always sort of say yes to things, really, when given an opportunity, because at the time we didn't know if it would do anything at all. And it later went on to sell 1 million, so that says 1 million copies. So we were wrong, and it was a great thing to do. So the lesson we learned from that very early in our career was to always take on and sort of embrace projects. So this corner here is obviously about Leeds and Reading Festival. It was an awesome thing for us to end up on this bill, which we think is one of the greatest bills for the lineups ever. So we were down here, and we were lucky enough to play on the same bill as a legendary Ian Brown.
And look at this lineup: Oasis, Primal Scream, Foo Fighters, third on the bill there. We've got Slipknot, Pulp, and Utah Saints with Ian Brown.
And on that day, I'll just tell you a little story. So on that day, I was a little bit in awe, because it was Ian Brown from the Stone Roses, and we happened to be performing with the legendary soul singer Edwin Starr. So I was stood backstage. So Ian Brown came over to me and said, would I introduce him to Edwin Starr? And I was like, but you're Ian Brown, and it was amazing. So I introduced Ian Brown to Edwin Starr, and then Edwin Starr later on came over to me and said, look, there's Fatboy Slim over there, would you introduce me to Fatboy Slim? So I spent the day introducing famous people I was totally in awe of.
Having spent my entire professional career here in Leeds, there's been loads of kind of little connections and little near misses kind of thing. I've only met Mark Almond from Soft Cell, who came out of Leeds Arts College at the time. I've only met him once. He was really nice. I used to live just off Cardigan Road for a while, and about 3 years or 4 years before that, Mark Almond had apparently lived there as well. And also, Mark Almond used to work at the warehouse. One of our first gigs were at the warehouse. Was a whole heap of kind of connections. And also, while I'm on the subject of who lived where, really early doors in my career, my mate Chris, who I met at Bad Brains gig at the F Club in Leeds, he ended up being a guitarist for Henry Rollins, and Henry Rollins recorded from Black Flag. He recorded 2 albums in Leeds, and one of them was with Ian Mackay from the legendary Fugazi, and basically none of them could drive, but I was 18, I'd got my test, I'd got my battered Ford Cortina estate, so I ended up in the car with Henry Rollins from Black Flag, Ian Mackay from Fugazi in the back, and I used to drive them backwards and forwards from the studio when they were recording the first 2 Henry Rollins albums here in Leeds, and they all stayed in a house in the Harolds in Headingley as well. So loads and loads of connections.
And look who it is. The one and only Andi. How did you get here?
You caught me trying to find myself.
So what have you found, Andy?
I found yours. I found a few friends of ours. There's you in twice actually there, Jez. See that one for yourself. There's Jojo, who I worked with for many, many years at Galaxy and Kiss. I found my own. There's Alice Bailey from Speed Queen, who's a good friend of ours. Amazing.
Yeah, so talk about your involvement in Leeds music over the years and
Well,
how
I
you
guess,
started. And
so, I mean, I started when I was 15, 16 years old at Kiss, as you know, and I was just like a kind of a spotty teenager tech op helping press the buttons in the radio station, and that's where I kind of first met you guys. Jez used to do a show, and for some reason you must have come in and recorded it like really late at night when I was working.
It's after the club show, so it's about 2 in the morning,
and yeah, I mean, I've been very lucky enough to live and work in Leeds in the music scene since sort of 1997ish really, and I've never stopped. It's a real privilege, and this place is it's like an honour, isn't it? I think a lot of us who kind of have worked in this didn't really, when you're doing it, you don't really know that you're doing anything that's particularly of note. You're just doing it because you love it and it's exciting, and for the pure joy of it. And then when people kind of, I mean, putting it in a museum is a really weird experience, isn't it?
yeah, because when you're a kid, you used to go to museums on school trips, and now you're in a museum as grown up, and you're in the museum. So.
Look, Mum, I'm in a museum.
Yeah.
And Andy's also coming to Millennium Square. We're very honoured to have him on the 26th of June for the classical Ibiza concert. What are you thinking of that? What are you thinking about the classical Ibiza concert?
I cannot wait. I mean, thank you very much for inviting me to play on that. Like I said, Leeds is my hometown, and being able to, we've done nights here and events here and for years and years. But to actually, like, Millennium Square is like, it's like the town square. It's like a big official thing. It's a really exciting thing to be outside. It doesn't happen very often, and to be in this kind of this place and do that sort of event is going to be really, really exciting.
Yeah. Millennium Square is right next to the museum, so you can make a whole day of it. Make a whole day of it. Come and see the exhibition, and then come to the gig. The takeaway from our Leeds Museum visit is that over 60 years, there's been such an eclectic mixing pot of awesome music, and we're all interlinked. All this music is feeding off each other, so it's impossible to kind of take you around in a couple of minutes. So do come and visit this exhibition. 60 years of music leads us here in Leeds Museum, next to Millennium Square, where we are doing our big Ibiza classical concert on June the 26th.
Oh, look on the screen.
As if by magic. Okay, so one of the biggest tellies in Leeds is this one. And we're super proud to be on that. What do you think of that, Andi Durrant?
Very, very exciting. It's very cool, actually. I don't think I've ever been on such a big TV before.
Yeah, so this is like a blank canvas ahead of what will become a massive event.
It's very cool that like a big public place like this is you're kind of allowed to hold a rave essentially as well, isn't it? You know, it's so rare that it happens that it's pretty exciting.
So obviously the stage will be over that way, and the whole process for this takes a long, long time to put together, because we actually started just before Christmas, starting to speaking to the people who are scoring the music, which is actually a guy called Steve Anderson, who was, people will know from Brothers in Rhythm, who did a big track called Peace and Harmony and Such a Good Feeling. And he is actually working with another producer, Cliff Masterson, and together they're scoring the whole music, which then Opera North will play. So it's a big project to put together.
We're super honoured to have them involved because also Steve is the musical director for Kylie Minogue.
Yes, he is.
So he's taken time off from that to come and do this in Leeds, which is fantastic.
We just thought it'd be good to show people the square, you know, before the whole event. This will completely transform.
But also just to point out that the angle we're built on a hill so that when the stage is down the bottom, everybody can see. So everyone gets a really good vantage point from wherever you stood within Millennium Square.
It also makes me look as tall as Jez and Andi Durrant, which never happens.
Right, so now we're going to go into the secret part of underground Leeds, the proper underground.
This is exciting.
This is where the stage will be, and then there's this big cylinder. Come and have a look at this. Totally exclusive behind this door. Check this out.
So this is dressing room 1.
It's got a lift, which is that big cylinder we see upstairs. Thanks.
And then that goes up to the stage, you see. So this was our dressing room last time. Got an ironing board, kettle, everything you need. Fridge. This is the green room where the catering is and people can have their dinner. TV screen. Here's the full kitchen. Looks like someone's already had a rave last night.
Obviously, it's not open to the public, but there is one fan in the room. Wow. Obviously, I don't need to point this out, but absolutely no one should really off their trolley. I am definitely on my trolley.
So just like a short walk away from Millennium Square is Joseph's Well, which is a sort of unassuming office block, but actually for years and years was the home of some of the most important like dance music, radio and artists and DJs in the whole kind of the north of England. So this was originally Kiss 105 in 1997. It then became Galaxy 105 and Capital. These days is like a medical supplies company or something, but the sort of the legends that have been through here. I worked here every day for maybe 15, 16, 17 years, something like that. And, you know, everyone from David Guetta to the Swedish House Mafia to Paul van Dyk to Oakenfold, basically everyone who's like a who's who of dance music has walked up those steps, they've been in there, they've done their shows, and it was a really important part, especially in the late 90s, of the kind of Leeds music scene, wasn't it? I mean, that's where I met these guys first of all. I was, like I said earlier on, just a tech op working the buttons as a spotty teenager. And I kind of started and grew my career through this place, and it's been absolutely incredible. It's weird to come back. I mean, how long is it since you've been here?
Yeah, it's been a long time since I was here, but because I used to have a history dance show for a couple of hours every week, and my claim to fame is that once I went to see De La Soul, and the door stopped Maceo out at De La Soul at the end of the gig and said, "Will you come and record a couple of hours mix for my show?" Expecting him to say, "No, I've never met you before," and he said, "Yeah." So I brought him down here, up those steps, 2 hours at 4 in the morning doing the mix. I think you were there actually in the building.
I think I probably was, yeah.
You were always here. Every time I came down, you were always here.
I used to leave college at like 4 in the afternoon in Huddersfield and get on the train and then come work here overnight every single weekend, Friday and Saturdays. But it was a really magical time, especially when you're young, you know, 16 years old, and you've got all those Leeds legends who made this city like great in terms of music. So everyone from, well, you know, a lot of the people in the museum now, so you know, your JoJo's, the people like Alex Pepper, Lee Wright, Ralph and Huggy, Rob Tezera, all these guys who had shows at the time.
Tony Walker,
yeah. What a legend. And yeah, like I say, everyone.
Carl Cox had a show as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
George Jules had a show.
It was originally
Jim Sheridan, Dope Smugglers.
Yeah. Everyone was here, and it's it's really weird. It's a little unassuming building that everyone probably drives past on the ring road every day. But if you ever look up, then you'll see one of the kind of most famous Leeds music buildings.
Right, we're outside the famous refectory where The Who recorded Live at Leeds, which was like a massive, one of the biggest selling live albums ever. You know, years later, Utah Saints wanted to call our album Live at Leeds, but it getting mispronounced, so we abandoned that idea. Anyway, on these steps, I once came years ago, before Utah Saints, and I saw The Clash busk on these steps, and there was about 1,500 people here. So it was an amazing time. This is also what
Yeah,
do
we
do
also
here?
we also shot the video for something good. As part of the video, you'll see this shot in a rave, and it was actually shot inside there in 1992. Yeah, and it was cut with footage from the original cloud busting.
Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, do not forget to check out the Music Leeds Us exhibition at Leeds Museum on until the end of June 2026. Also, don't forget to check out Classical Ibiza, which is Utah Saints presenting the Opera North Orchestra, a 50-piece live orchestra alongside legends such as Rozalla, Janice Robinson, Shades of Rhythm, and Leeds' very own Andi Durrant. Friday, 26th of June. See you there. Should we start talking?
Welcome to Leeds Music. Sorry, I got it wrong. Do it again. Music Leeds Utah Saints.
Exactly. Utah Saints.